Hey everyone, it's Courtney. Welcome to my April WIP update. It's been a couple months since I've shown you the progress I've made on all of my pieces. I had a video in March, but it was a tutorial video, so no progress updates in that one. So accordingly, I've got a lot to show you. I think I will start with my Mirabilia. I think I told you in my last update video that I was waiting on some fabric, which was coming from Color Cascade in Australia in order to be able to start. And I waited on it for about 6 weeks because I ordered it right after Christmas and it didn't arrive until the first or second week of February. So it came, but when it arrived, it was not what I was expecting. I'll insert the picture here of the website, the picture they had on the website. So I looked at this picture and I liked the bluish purple, hues. I liked the golden tint, sort of around the edges. I thought it looked like Twilight. Anyway, so that's what I was expecting. When it arrived, this was in the package that I opened. And this fabric is pink, which is not what I was expecting. So I was quite disappointed. It is the correct color name. It's called Golden Touch, and it's a pink Lugana with gold modeling, brownish gold modeling on it. And it might be very nice for something, but it was not going to work for what I had in mind for my Sleeping Princess by Mirabilia. So I was pretty disappointed by this. When I went back and took another look at the picture from the website, it seems like, yes, it is a picture of this fabric, but the lighting in that picture is not true to the daylight lighting at my house. So I don't believe that the picture on the website is of the wrong fabric. I just think it's a really poor quality picture. So now, I wish I had been more careful about making sure that the description actually said purple and blue. There wasn't really a description of that fabric on the Color Cascade website. So I assumed that what I saw in the picture was what I was going to get. And I was prepared for variations in, the placement of the texturing and, dye kind of anomalies like that, but I was not expecting a completely different colorway. So that was kind of sad. I have not returned this because it is what I ordered, even though I'm not happy with it. But I also do have one or two ideas of other pieces I could maybe do on this that would look nice. So for the moment, I'm keeping it. It's going to stay in my stash, and it will always be the very first piece of hand-dyed fabric that I purchased. They're never what you expect, but true to the hand-dyed experience, I didn't get what I wanted the first time around. So that was that. So I had to go and find another piece of fabric. I had used a viewer on that one, which is what really sold me on that fabric. But even though it betrayed me, I used the viewer again. Here's my kitty coming for a visit. You guys have seen her the last couple videos now, haven't you? I used the viewer again, but this time I went with Under the Sea Fabrics, which I've heard so many rave reviews about from a lot of you other floss tubers. So I thought maybe her pictures, Leslie's pictures, might be more true to life. So I used the viewer again. I found a swatch from Under the Sea that I really liked, and that was Andromeda. So I ordered a piece of Andromeda fabric, and it came in the mail 2 weeks later, which was a much better time frame. And this is essentially what it looks like. So this is much closer to what I had in mind originally. I wanted blues and purples. I wanted it to have a purple tint, but be sort of reminiscent of the night sky. And that was actually how Andromeda was advertised on the Under the Sea website. And the pictures, it looked much bluer on the picture of linen, but she had a separate picture of the linen and the Lugana, and said that the dye comes out much lighter on the even weave than it does on the linen. And I thought, that's okay, because I really want the purples more than the dark blues. So this is what came out. And I've actually started working on my wonderful Mirabilia lady, Sleeping Princess, and I am loving this so much. And here's where she is. I started on her hair. The end of her hair is pretty much in the middle of the piece, so I was able to count pretty easily from where the middle was marked on the Mirabilia chart. Do I have that chart here? One second. So this is a picture of how she's going to look when she's finished. It's a sort of a Princess in the Pea type design, with the princess sleeping on a pile of mattresses, like 8 high. So anyway, now that you have some context, this is how far I've gotten. I started in the middle and counted up to the beginning of her hair, and I did all of her hair and I started with that because I was very eager to get going on her skin, because I wanted to try doing the skin 1/1. So I have done that. I've got to the skin. It is certainly difficult to stitch 1/1, but look at how dainty and beautiful it ends up looking. I'm very pleased with the effect. My mother-in-law bought me this chart and the embellishment pack for Christmas, and she came to visit along with some more of my husband's family members right before Easter. So I was very happy that this fabric arrived, and I was able to get this chart started so that she could see it in person when she was here. So I put it away shortly after Easter and have been working on some other things, but I'm very excited about getting back to this one again, hopefully pretty soon. So I'll probably try and finish all of her hair and skin first, and then move on to her dress, and then the mattresses and blankets, and then finally the frame. I might leave the frame till last. I am leaving the beads till last. There are lots of beads that go on here. That's what the gaps are in her headband. They're full of beads and charms. So I was a little concerned about the purple stitches in the headband disappearing into this fabric, but I don't think it's that bad. It certainly stands out in her hair, and I think you can tell that the pattern still, continues further out here. So yeah, so that's going really well. For my first Mirabilia, I'm very pleased. Thank you, Leslie from Under the Sea, for providing me with such wonderful fabric. Okay, next thing I should show you is my progress on Santa's Village. Can't remember exactly where I had stopped the last time I showed you this, if I had completed the first row or not, but I have now. And this is where I'm at. In case you haven't watched my previous videos, this design is just about half done. There are going to be 3 rows with 4 houses in each row. So I finished the first row. It's looking great. There are some buttons that will go on here at the very end that I've left off. I finished Candy Cane Cottage over there. I did these first 2 houses in January, the next 2 in February. This one I did in March, and I haven't yet done April's house, which is, I believe, Christmas Tree Farm. It's this one. That'll go right here next to the Candy Cane Cottage. But this one's pretty fun. I've been a little overwhelmed by all the Christmas stitching, but you know, these are little designs that go fairly fast once I actually start them. So I like doing these in sections. Like for the next house, what I'll probably do is I'll start with the bottom border of the holly. I'll continue that and do all of the holly, complete that first. Then I'll probably come up here and do the candy cane striping and complete that. Then I usually start the snowbank. I complete the snowbank. And then I would do either probably the house next. I like to do the windows and doors first, and then fill in the rest of the house and complete that before I move on to the little side motif. Each of them has that side motif and then all the snowflakes. I probably do the snowflakes last. So I like how there are those kind of self-contained sections of the actual charts that I am able to get even more mini finishes inside my mini finish of one house inside my big project of the entire village. It's just very satisfying to me to approach and complete those landmarks. So this one's coming along really nicely. Don't have much more to say about that. I'm just going to go ahead and put this away. I hope you don't mind. Really quick. Okay, there we go. All right. And right along with Santa's Village, hand in hand goes my gingerbread village. This set is also a set of 12, well actually 11. Oh, this isn't that right one. That's the one I'll show you next. This one is the one I want. This is a set of 11 designs, but in that same format, that 4x3 village style. This is by the same designer, Country Cottage Needleworks. I don't think I mentioned that before. She's releasing each of these charts once a month over the course of a year. So Santa's Village was released last year. This one is coming out this year. I've got this much finished since last time I completed Gingerbread House number 3. This was the, well, February design? March? I think it was my March cottage, because I'm doing them one a month, and I think I did November, December, January, February, March. And I have the April gingerbread cottage. It's this one. It'll go right here at the end of the fourth house in the row. Came with this cute little robin, or not robin, cardinal button from Just Another Button Company. So this one's coming along also, but this is my April cottage, and I still have to put that out. So this one I have something fun to report too, because my birthday was at the beginning of April, and on April 1st, just a couple days before my birthday, I got my regular email from my needlework store saying that this chart was in, because I'm on a list to get notified automatically when these charts arrive every month. So I got that contacted, and I went that day on my way to my birthday party, actually. And I stopped at the store, and I said, I'm here for the next Gingerbread Village house. And the lady said, of course you are. You're probably caught up, aren't you? Because she remembers me. And I said, yes, I am. I'm waiting for the next one. So she went over to ring me up, and she said, this one is taken care of. You don't have to pay. And I said, oh, by whom? And she said, well, I guess you'll have to think about who might have done that for you. So I was delighted but somewhat puzzled. And I went on my way to my birthday party. When I met up with my husband, I asked him if he visited my stitch store because I got a gifted chart, and he said, no, I didn't do that. I bet it was my mom, though. And we both were on our way to my birthday party, and I had a bunch of friends at that party, and I asked them, like in the group, did any of them do it? And they all said no. And then the next day or day after, I was Skyping with Sam's mom, and I really didn't think that it was her. He was pretty convinced it was her because she had just been here at Easter time. And I didn't think it was her because I was with her the whole time that she was here at Easter time. And also she already had given me a different birthday present. But I asked her anyway, and she said, no, it wasn't her. So I was running out of ideas. The only idea I had left before I was really puzzled was my mom. Although she had told me before that my birthday present was coming in a card in the mail. So I kind of thought that that wasn't it. But it turns out when I asked her, she said, yes, it actually was. It was her. And the present in the card is a picture of these charts. And she said, yes, I wanted to do that for your birthday, so I called the store, and the lady who helped me on the phone totally knew who you were and said, yes, she comes in here all the time. Oh, this is such a fun idea. Yes, of course I'll help you. So she paid in advance, and even more than I knew, because when I picked up this chart, the lady didn't tell me, but my mom actually paid for all of the rest of these charts for me. So every month when I get my email, I'll just get to go right into the store and pick it up for free for the rest of the releases of the pattern. So I'm very happy with that birthday present. I'll enjoy it until, I guess, October or November when the last pattern finally comes out, and then I will finish stitching these gingerbread houses. But then I'll keep enjoying it even longer because every year then at Christmas this design will hang in my house as a Christmas decoration. So thanks, Mom. She watches sometimes. So that was fun. And when I asked Mom if it was her and she said yes, she said, now that frees up some of your money for other stitching stuff. And I laughed, and she said, because that's what I would do. I wouldn't, use the money I was going to use on these charts on something else completely. I would use it to get more stitching stuff. And I said, yes, that's probably true. That's probably what I'll do. And it is what I did. So a couple of weeks ago, right before I made my tutorial video, I purchased some charts from Silver Creek. And I showed these in my tutorial video, but I know some of you may not have watched that one if you really like WIP updates, so I'll show them again. These are from Silver Creek Samplers. They're the Sing a Sampler series. They all go, there are 4 of them, and they go all in a row. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So there are those. I bought them from my local needleworks shop, Stitches from the Heart. I was very pleased with the service, as I always am there. The lady who rang me up when I asked for them went and dug in the back and found them. She went through quite a bit of effort, so I bought those, and I bought some of the threads for them, but not all, because they're $3 a skein and I only had so much money at the time, but I'll buy more as I go. So here are some of the hand-dyed. Oh, hi, baby. Okay, don't knock that down. Uh-oh. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I don't want her to knock down the phone I'm using to record. These are all from the Gentle Art sampler threads. I bought the two main colors for this project are Sable and Grecian Gold, and they're the ones that the letters are stitched in and all the borders of each of the motifs. Also along for the ride, I bought Sarsaparilla, Summer Shower, Wood Rose, Harvest Basket, Deep Forest, and Dungarees. So I did start this project. I'm stitching it on 32 count. I believe it's Lugana in Silvery Moon, which I think is from Wichelt, but I didn't, it wasn't labeled with all of that information at the Stitchy store, so I'm guessing on some of it. I do know it's 32 count, I do know it's called Silvery Moon, and there is a Lugana from Wichelt with that information on 123 Stitch for sale, and it looks very similar to this. So here's my progress. So far I've only used Sable and Grecian Gold. I started from the middle of the design, as I almost always do, except for on my large full coverage pieces like Heaven and Earth designs. I'm just going to continue stitching with the colors that I have until, you know, next month probably I'll get more money to spend on stitchy stuff. So I'm really liking the effect of this. I briefly, when I picked up Grecian Gold in particular, I really like Sable, but Grecian Gold in particular, when I first grabbed it, looked, I wasn't sure if I liked the color, because it's, you know, green and yellow, and I don't know, the combination looked weird to me at the beginning, but the way it's stitching up in contrast with Sable and with the variegation, I'm actually really liking it. So I briefly considered changing out some of the colors, but I'm glad that I trusted the designer, who I believe is Diane at Silver Creek Samplers, and I went ahead with the charted colors, and I'm very happy that I did. So isn't that variegation nice? I've seen other people's, you know, versions of this project elsewhere, and I've seen people who add the L in soul. I know that when you know, sing or when you learn real music, so is not so like with S-O, it's actually soul, S-O-L. And I've seen people alter the chart to make it include the L, but when I learned this song from Sound of Music, I always sang it was so, and that's just, you know, I'm not a musician, so it didn't really bother me that much. So I'm leaving it as charted. Anyway, that's Sing a Sampler. This fabric is really nice to stitch on. It's a light color, so it's easy. You know, the Lugana is very soft. The Mirabilia was actually my first time stitching on Lugana, but this, I don't know, the purples, the mottled purples and blues that I'm using for the Mirabilia, it's still a little bit challenging to see the holes on that fabric. It's darker fabric, but this is really, really easy, a breeze to stitch on, so I'm having fun with it. Okay, I have 2 more WIPs to show you, I think, and then a couple of haul type items. Not a bunch, just a few. Alright, one WIP is a mini WIP. This is a little one. The day before my birthday, we got the very sad news that my great-grandpa passed away. He was 89. He's my dad's dad's dad, so the family patriarch, you know. So I went to his funeral 2 weekends ago, and I wanted to take a small stitchy project with me to do on the plane, and there was going to be kind of a long car drive too, although I didn't end up stitching on the drive. So I picked up this one. I got the Just Cross Stitch 2015 ornament issue for myself at Christmas time this past year, in particular because I wanted to do this Brooks Books Angel. I think she's so beautiful. So I decided that I would kit her up and take her along with me on my trip to the funeral. So I did that. The chart is in this magazine, and she's stitched on 14 count antique brown perforated paper from Mill Hill. She doesn't have any beads in her, although a lot of Brooks Books designs do, but she does have some Krennic and other specialty threads and some chenille, like fluffy thread that will go around her shoulders where her stole is. So I didn't make a whole lot of progress, but this is what I've got. It's her shoulders and like sort of the waist area of her dress. I'm stitching this 3/1. I haven't done more threads than 2 really at all, but I tested it with 2 and I thought the coverage just looked a lot better on this perforated paper with 3 threads. So I'm stitching that. Ahsoka, stop it. Go away. Go away. No. Shoot, shoot. She's playing with my whips. Don't do that. She is not declawed. Woo! She's usually very playful when she wakes up from a nap. She's only 2 years old, so she's got quite a lot of energy still. Don't you? Don't you? Yeah. Anyway, so I picked this up. I probably won't work on it more in the foreseeable future, but I might pick it up again if I go on another trip or in December so that I can finish her to be an ornament on my tree. So there's that. My last WIP is probably the one I'm most excited to show you. It's the one I'm currently working on, like today, and that is my Heaven and Earth design by Tula Berger. It's Dressmaker's Shop, and I'll insert a picture here of how it's going to look when it's finished. It's on my lap stand right now. The scroll frame that my husband made, and the cheap little lap stand that I bought from Joanne, which a couple of you have asked to see how all of that is assembled together, and well, hopefully you can see with this. But first I'll show you my progress on the WIP. So I've started in the top left corner. I counted out on this gridded fabric. This is Magic Guide, so the grid is woven into the fabric. I didn't grid this. But I started in the top left corner after counting out where that should fall, and I've done the first page, completed the first page. It was my very first ever page finish for a Heaven and Earth design. And there it is. So it's that hanging lamp that's in the very top left corner of the design. This first section that's complete was a page. I've got lots of part threads going on, and as well as waist knots. I'm using the waist knot method so that I don't have to flip over the frame or end my threads. You know, it's just easier to end my threads that way. If you want to see a great tutorial on how to do the waist knot method, look up Pam Reed. She made an awesome video about that. That's how I learned. So that's what I did for the first page. I worked in columns with the parking method, and I used waist knots. On the second page, I'm participating in the second Heaven and Earth Designs Challenge, which is administrated via their Facebook group, New Official Heaven and Earth Designs on Facebook. And the challenge is to complete a full page by June 15th using a cross-country stitching method, which they've defined to mean you pick up one color and do all of that color on the page before you move on to the next color. So this is a very different way of stitching on this second page than I used for the first, but there is a reward chart for completing the challenge that I want to be eligible to receive, so I'm doing that. I also participated in the first HAID challenge of the year, which was to stitch 1,000 stitches in this checkerboard method. So I did do that, and I got the reward chart for that. But I didn't really care so much for stitching that way. I chose a section of the chart that didn't have very many colors so that I could just kind of pound it out and get it done. So, but I am enjoying stitching cross country a little bit more. I don't think I always will, but because of the characteristics of this particular page of the pattern, I guess, it's kind of fun to be, you know, to watch the green background fill in. That's what I'm working on first. And then I'll probably work on these, you know, beams, these posts on the sides, and fill those in. And then I'll fill in the hat and the shoe. And then this is the top of a lady's hat, a shopper in the store. So because of, you know, the colors being so different in each part of the design, I'm able to see it sort of fill out that way. And that's pretty fun. Although I think once I'm finished with the challenge, I will go back to using the parking method like this. So, and the waist knots. So that's my project on Heaven and Earth. It's on my floor stand, like I said. These are the sidebars my husband made for me. These are the scroll rods, and I've attached the fabric to my scroll rods as I demonstrated in my tutorial video. And this is what the lap stand looks like. It's just, you know, got one of these on either side. They're just some boards that have, you know, a gap that sort of, it's got itself clamped onto the dowel rod using a wing nut and a screw. And they're tied together also with a wing nut and screw at the bottom. It's very simple, very cheap. Anyway, so I usually stitch either on the floor with this over my lap or on the couch with it over my lap. I'm really pleased with my progress on this. I thought, you know, at the beginning of this project, I told my husband and my mom and people who were interested that I thought optimistically I could finish this not less than 2 years from now. And at this rate, it'll be even longer than that. This design has 54 full pages, and then it's actually 72 pages with, you know, the small partial pages at the bottom and along the side. So there's some kitty butt in the way. Yeah, so anyway, that's I started this at the beginning of January this year, and I have not even got 2 pages finished. So with 54 in mind, it's a really daunting task. You know, I think I might be able to finish 20 pages in 2 years, but this will probably take me even longer. So this is a project for the ages for sure, unless I decide to focus more on it at the expense of my other projects, which at this point I'm not really willing to do. I am prioritizing it right now though, because I want to finish the challenge. So speaking of the Heaven and Earth Designs challenge, I think I'll show you by inserting pictures what the chart was that I got as the challenge reward for completing the first challenge. If you're interested to see that, I'll put a picture of the chart up as well as the information of its name and stuff there in the description for you to see. This is a quick stitch, I believe. Heaven and Earth has a big chart by the artist Amy Stewart called The Stitch in Time, and it's you know, she's sort of famous for doing these bookshelf designs, and so Stitch in Time is a bookshelf design, but it has all of these different motifs of people doing cross stitch throughout the design, and this is sort of like one part of that ginormous piece. So where, you know, they zoomed in on that one part and charted that just by itself. So it's not a actual section of the big chart, but it's a, you know, it was recharted by itself, you know, just as one part. So anyway, I wonder if the other reward charts will be other sections of the big Stitch in Time chart. I'm not sure. The Stitch in Time chart has an embroidery hoop right in the middle that says A Stitch in Time. And I was afraid she would knock over the camera. It has an embroidery hoop in the middle, which Heaven and Earth has it sort of adopted as its new logo. And except instead of saying A Stitch in Time, like on their website, it says Heaven and Earth Designs. And a while ago on the Facebook group for Heaven and Earth Designs, they put out a poll asking if people would be interested in seeing the design without that big logo in the middle. And I was one of the people who voted yes on that. I would not have picked up the chart otherwise, but I think if they removed the logo and it was just, a bunch of different motifs of people stitching and the bookshelf style in between, that is something I would maybe be interested in purchasing. So they are, the artist Amy Stewart is designing sort of a replacement, to fill in the middle where the logo was. And then Michelle, the owner of Heaven and Earth Designs, will rechart the piece. And that can take several months, but I might be doing the full Stitch in Time piece at some point. But like I said, it's a ginormous piece. So anyway, I picked that one up. Heaven and Earth also has a birthday program. You can pay $10 to join the birthday club, and then on your birthday you just email them with your order number for your birthday club membership, and you can pick a free chart from the website, a download chart. So I did that about a month ago. I paid my $10 to join the birthday club, and for my birthday this April, I got my birthday chart, and it is this one, which is actually by the same artist as the Stitch in Time piece, Amy Stewart, and it's called Vintage Love Letters. This beautiful chart was actually a reward chart for a challenge long ago, and at the time it was exclusively released only to people who finished the challenge, but they decided, Michelle said she decided she didn't want to deprive Amy of the royalties from the sale of this beautiful chart that they could make, by releasing it to the general public. And I'm so glad they made that decision, because as soon as I saw that it had been a reward chart, I fell in love with it, and I knew I really wanted to do it, but I was sad to know that it would never be released because it was a challenge reward, but that turned out not to be the case. So I'm very happy. I got that for my birthday. Have not started, not sure when I'll start it, but that happened. Someday I will. And I also want to share another Heaven and Earth design that I picked up. Well, I didn't pick it up. It was gifted to me. I'll insert it here. This is Alternative Reality. It's by the artist Josephine Wall. And this chart was wrecked to me by another member of the new official Heaven and Earth Designs Facebook group. Her name is Courtney Sands. If you ever watched this, Courtney, thank you so much for giving me this chart. I think it's so gorgeous. I'm not sure why she picked me, possibly because we have the same name. I think that's super fun. But one day I just got an email saying I had a gift chart waiting for me to be downloaded from Heaven and Earth, and she had gone into my wish list on the Heaven and Earth website and picked this for me and purchased it for me. So I think that's super awesome, and it was very touching at the time. So I'm hoping to kit this up. I would probably most likely start it before I would start Vintage Love Letters or A Stitch in Time, largely because it was a gift and I want to be able to post progress pictures on it on the Facebook group so that Courtney can see. I'm taking advantage of the gift she gave me, so this one would probably be my next start whenever I do start another Heaven and Earth design. This one is a much smaller chart than Dressmaker's Shop, so I think it only has 24 pages, full pages to do, so it's like half the size of Dressmaker's Shop. A lot less intimidating. Yes, so those are my Heaven and Earth charts that I got that are new to me. Couple other things I wanted to show you that I bought. I did have some extra birthday money, and that was partly because of my mom buying the gingerbread houses for me. So I went out and I bought, this is, you guys are going to roll your eyes at me because I already have so many big projects going on, but I had to. I bought the beginning of the Prairie Schooler alphabet. I know, it's ginormous. But it's also in small motifs, so it's doable because, you know, you just do one chart at a time until it's finished. Anyway, I went ahead, you know, a lot of you know that Prairie Schooler has gone out of business now, and so I'm expecting that these charts might become more and more difficult to find as time goes on. Currently, 123 Stitch still has a lot of them. But I went ahead and I snapped up some of the more expensive or more difficult ones to find. I have D, E, and F. Sorry, I should say Prairie Schooler released a whole set of these letter designs, you know, the entire alphabet in groups of 3 in all these different pamphlets. So that's what I'm talking about here. I've picked up 2 of them to start with, but I'll gather the others, you know, over time, because I really don't have plans to start these right now because I've got a lot going on. Yeah, so I got DEF, and I got GHI. The GHI, this is actually a reprint of the chart. I'm not sure why, but this one was like, this one is the more difficult one to find, and it's more expensive than all of the others. The other pamphlets will cost you like $6 or something on 123 Stitch, but this one was actually $17, and it isn't on 123 Stitch. I bought both of these. Both of these are no longer available on 123 Stitch, and I bought them actually from a store called Traditional Stitches, which is located in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. I was very happy with my service from there. The response time was very quick, and the shipping was quick, as quick as it can be coming from Canada to Texas. So, yeah, so I bought both of these from Traditional Stitches. This is one of the original pamphlets, I believe, and this is a limited edition reprint. I'm not totally sure why it's a different color, probably because it's a reprint. But anyway, they both came from Traditional Stitches. So I have DEF and GHI. DEF has D is for drum, E is for embroidery, which I love. I love that pattern. And F is for friend, which I think is so sweet. And then GHI has G is for garden, H is for honey, and I is for Indian corn. Eventually when I do stitch these, I'll probably stitch them all together on the same piece of fabric. Not sure how I'll group them because there are a lot of them, but I'll probably do it on a small count fabric and possibly stitch 1 over 1 because I don't want it to be huge, ginormous, which it will be if you stitch 2 over 2 or, you know, with fewer stitches per inch. So I'm never really sure whether to call it smaller count or larger count. Like, is 40 count, do you consider that smaller count or a larger count? Because the number is larger than, say, 14 count. But the, you know, threads, the holes are smaller, the stitches are smaller, so. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you're talking about 40 count fabric with a really high number but like small stitches, do you call that smaller count or larger count? I don't know. That's somewhat ambiguous. So that was the last chart I had to show you. The only other sort of relevant purchase that I've made was some more fabric from Joann. I went back because I wanted to make more like scroll frame covers and these rod covers, these sleeves that I hold my WIPs in when I'm not working on them. But they were out of the navy blue fabric when I went back there. So instead I found the same patterns with the flowers and the darts on them, but just in this lovely teal color. So I'll use this to make more covers for my various works in progress. And that's about it. That's all I have to show you. It was a lot of stuff because it's been a while, but I'm really glad that I finally got a chance to record, and I hope you all really enjoyed this video. I look forward to talking to you in the comments. Until next time, happy stitching.